A few months ago, we announced that we were attending the Global Youth Summit as Global Changemakers. We went, we conquered, and we came back caring about social impact, sustainable development goals, and we want to share our insights and stories with you from the summit. Welcome to episode 2 of SAICA's Blue Table Talk. My name is Paul Wombo, and I'm a global changemaker. Manners are important, so ladies first. I'd like to introduce my fellow global changemakers. Asisipho, may you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Paul. My name is Asisipho, and I'm a third-year trainee at the Auditor General, a trainee Trailblazer finalist 2023, and also a global changemaker.
Awesome.
Doesn't this feel like speed dating again?
It does.
I'm Wamashudu Mukheli, a SAICA trainee Trailblazer winner in 2023. I'm a BDO trainee as well and the co-founder of Campus Connect.
And you forgot Prince of SAICA as well. Oh man, guys, it's a privilege to be sitting across you guys now. We're sitting not only on the highest stage as difference makers, but on a global stage. And I just want us to talk about like how we heard about Global Changemakers, because I think we brought a lot of awareness to the name, and I know the nice photos with Wamashudu. You know, I see him as a model as well. Like, so we had some nice posters also. So maybe Asisipho, maybe you can touch on how you heard about the Global Changemakers Summit.
I think it was the community we built after we were the finalists on the 2023 Trailblazer. So we stayed connected, especially through our WhatsApp group, where we were sharing opportunities and everything that we can venture on after we announced as finalists on the Trailblazer. So that's when I heard about the Global Changemaker. On the group, someone shared on a link that had said, "Are you a global changemaker? This is an opportunity for you to apply." And I think I'd say thank you for the connection and family we built as that cohort of 2022 Trailblazers. And that's where I heard about the opportunity.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome, Asisipho. And I also heard from my top 35 group. So we call ourselves Tenacity 35 because we were the 10th iteration of the top 35. So we still keep in contact, sharing opportunities, and I saw from there the Global Changemakers. Wamashudu, was that the same way that you heard about it?
Yeah, very similar to Asisipho, but on top of that, I even had a few people from internally in SAICA sending me the links via link.
Okay.
Maybe like 3-4 people actually pushing me to apply. And I think that's one of the reasons why I applied, to see also how it aligns to trainee Trailblazer, what they have to achieve, the SDG goals as well. So I think that's how I applied and how I found out about it.
Exactly. And funny enough, in that same WhatsApp group, I saw someone share you in your white suit when you won the trainee Trailblazer as well. The fireworks were going off and everything. So I think you guys were always ready for the main stage and the global stage as well.
I think winning for Wamashudu, obviously winning the trainee Trailblazer and me being a finalist was a game changer.
Yeah.
Because I do want to believe that probably without being that finalist, I wouldn't have gotten this opportunity of going to the Global Youth Summit. So yeah.
I agree with you, Asisipho, because you know the SAICA brand is so huge. Like people take it for granted, but it's the world's most trusted CA designation in the world, and so on. So when SAICA gives you that cosign, it really, I think for me at least, it made a difference in terms of being seen by global changemakers as well. Wamashudu, do you want to touch a bit on the application process? Like what did it take to apply to be a global changemaker and so on?
Yeah. So of course, through the links that we all receive from our different channels, you would go in there and, you know, there was, I think, a 3-step process. Step one, of course, was a form that we had to fill out about our application, about our project that we're doing. The second one was, of course, recording a video. I think that was the
that was a struggle.
I couldn't, just I think 2 minutes long, just trying to synthesize of my project, why I'm creating an impact and a difference. And then, of course, we also had to fund the application as well, because that goes to a greater cause
Yes.
So that's how I applied for the Global Changemakers.
Oh, thanks so much, Wamashudu. And you touched on a very important point because Global Changemakers is an international non-profit. It's a youth organization, youth-led organization. So how they fund the Global Youth Summit is everyone applies around the world, more than 130 countries. And so on. They receive more than 1,000 applications, I think. So to be part of the 50 out of 1,000 applications is so huge. Then that application fee goes towards funding the summit. So Asisipho, we spoke about the video, the daunting application process as well, but there was a section where we had to speak about our cause, what the sustainable development goals that we promote and so on. Can you give a brief intro? What is a sustainable development goal and what were the sustainable development goals you are championing to be a global change maker?
Okay, I think just to start off as a bit of a background on the SDGs, you would remember that back in 2015, if I'm not mistaken, the United Nations sort of gave us, if I can say, a homework of 17 SDGs for us to work towards solving challenges in our respective communities or countries. And we are almost halfway through that. And what I am passionate about is towards the no hunger and no poverty, and also linking it to quality education. So I think the project that I'm involved in and the initiative that I plan around are at the addressing the challenges we have towards poverty, just assisting those that are less fortunate to have a bread to eat before they go to sleep, or a lunchbox if they're going to school, so that they would be able to concentrate in class. So I'm a champion of that, very big, passionate about solving those challenges. But also additionally to that is on quality education, just not only the systematic one, but also the knowledge that we incur towards the journey that we are going on, passing on to the next people that are also on the same journey. So that's what has led me to be selected as a global change maker.
Wow.
Being part of those projects. Yeah.
And thank you so much for that, Asisipho. I think education is a basic need that even Wamashudu, I know you a champion as well through Campus Connect as well. But I think something important about the SDGs is people don't understand how connected they are to each other, and in terms of problems and solutions as well. And something that I wanted to highlight on the SDGs that are supposed to be achieved by 2030, on the UN website, they track the progress of different NPOs and so on their progress towards the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So for SAICA, it's also important to record and share as difference makers what we're doing towards those SDGs, to highlight the great work that SAICA is doing as difference makers. So Wamashudu, Asisipho introduced the SDGs that she was championing. I think I'll introduce mine after you, but maybe you can go into which SDGs you're championing in your line of work.
So for me, similar to Asisipho, is SDG 4, which aims at quality education, and SDG 10, which is inequality, which I think that one really is special to me, solving that inequality gap, right? So through a project that I co-founded called Campus Connect, that produces quality education material for university students. I think that's how we're trying to solve the SDG goals, and those are the 2 SDG goals that we are contributing to.
I really commend you, brother, and the fact that you're doing it in such an affordable way and focusing on access for students and people that want to better their lives and so on, and to create a more sustainable future for themselves and their families. I really commend you both on the work that you're doing. For myself, so it's more on a corporate side of view. I'm an infrastructure finance transactor. So we had an electricity crisis. I think it's been more than 250 days without load shedding.
Massive.
Yeah, it is. Oh, yeah, we can give a little bit of credit to Momentum, but I mean, I have to put them on a bit. But it's the collective private sector that came in and said, we are going to come and help the public sector solve this crisis. So there's investments in the Renewable Energy Independent Power Producers Program. So private investors came in there to say, we're going to invest in wind farms, solar PVs, and so on. So Momentum's invested about more than 8 billion in terms of renewable energy. I supported Momentum in terms of 5.2 billion of that as well. And there's sustainable elements that are taken into account when looking at climate action, affordable and clean energy. Africa's economy, load shedding was killing small businesses, big businesses as well, and so on. So when you reduce the cost of energy, the cost of people having to get their own generators as well, it helps the economy thrive as well. So my main SDGs from my line of work were those SDGs. But then another SDG that from a community point of view, I think it can speak mostly to quality education. If you're just creating a community similar to the communities we spoke about around the Trainee Trailblazer WhatsApp group, the Top 35 WhatsApp group, I want to connect the Tutuka alumni as well. So as part of that, that will filter into helping with the SAICA camps, fundraising for future students as well. That will also push for quality education.
Yeah,
amazing.
I think actually this intro of the project we're working on, it reminds me of the speed dating we had.
Yes.
That was more than 30 seconds. That's when we actually had to introduce ourselves, say what you're doing in less than 30 seconds, I think. And then you need to do it like over and over around, meeting different people. But it is amazing on how much work we're doing out there, and being part of the Global Changemaker Youth Summit and the network in itself. It really placed it in a spot where we are even being intentional about the things that we do. Because I think just to add on, when you were saying how connected those SDGs are, and I think before the summit, I wouldn't have looked at them as SDGs that are connected to each other. I might be solving SDG number 4 only to find out it also covers another SDG in the line. Yeah, exactly. It's actually amazing.
Exactly. And thank you so much for that, Asisipho. I mean, I'm still a bit traumatized from that speed dating, because I think the purpose of it is, so you have an outer circle and an inner circle, and then literally there's someone with a whistle. Every 30 seconds you move on, and you have to, in 30 seconds, summarize your activism work that you do and your story. And what I realized that was really cool about that is we kept thinking about, I'm not going to remember what this person said and everything. But as you go across the circle, your story refines. And by the time you're done with the thing, your elevator pitch is down. Yeah. So
that's true.
I think that's very important, right? Because like Asisipho said, and we went into that summit not knowing exactly the SDGs, or not knowing to what extent we are solving the SDGs. Things like speed dating, and also hearing other people's stories, I actually realized like, oh, okay, cool, I'm actually making that impact, So that for me, speed dating was critical. Also understanding my project even more, and that elevated picture you're saying.
I think that's true, because if I remember correctly, I might have known the word SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, but I didn't know into depth what it means and what it has. But the moment I stepped into my SAICA training contract, and one of the competencies on the SAICA 2025 framework was us evaluating what our businesses or our training offices contribute towards SDGs. And then that's when I started learning, okay. But I think at that time, it was me just learning about the SDGs so that I can end the competency. Global Changemaker Youth Summit, and that's when now I started to see what this is actually huge, and I'm doing something towards it, and it's something I need to embrace it. But before then, I was doing project, being part of initiative just because I'm passionate about, but because I love it. But I didn't know that I'm actually contributing towards solving some of the challenges that our country and the continent, or even the world itself is facing. But it was amazing to be part of that summit.
And once again, I commend you guys again. I think we got there, and the scene was just set, right? Yeah. They were dancing as we came up that long hill of Godini Spa, and the mood was set. It was very upbeat and everything. Maybe I can ask you, Wama, and then I'll ask Asisipho, which global change maker surprised you the most, or the work that they do, you never expected to meet someone like that?
No, I think it was Abede. I think given what his country is going through, the challenges he's going through, how he had to, flee his country because of the challenges there, and how he's still making that impact, right? I think that resonated with me a lot, because, sometimes I actually realize how fortunate, in inverted commas, we are as a country. Although we do have a lot of challenges, right? But meeting other global change makers made me realize that there are actually deeper problems that we actually don't have, if that makes sense, right? I think our bed story really resonated with me. I mean, I still talk to him to this day.
Filler 22, eh?
we have to, right? So I think that he still really resonates with me, and still keeping in touch to this day.
Okay, so thank you so much, Wamashudu, for that. I want to get into the key takeaways from the Global Youth Summit. I think it was really special for me as well. I briefly spoke about the Tutuka alumni community, and one of the biggest things for me was each change maker got a chance to facilitate a workshop and so on. And in that workshop, I was in the storytelling workshop where Salim, he's a documentary filmmaker about in war-stricken countries as well, linked to sustainable development. So he's giving us tips on storytelling. And then I saw an opportunity to share my Tutuka story. So in a group with other other global change makers, I literally said, this is, they gave us a structure on how to build the context, the conflict and everything. And I presented my Tutuka story, and I spoke to the Tutuka alumni community through the video that was being recorded by one of the global change makers. I posted it in the group, and my plea for Tutuka alumni is, you must share your story. Yeah. Once you share your story, we know as a community how we can blend in, how we can come together, how we can grow. It's one thing to fundraise. It's one thing to, gear up for Tutuka. It's one thing to do the My School initiative, but once we share our stories, I know Asisipho's story. She's also a Tutuka alumni. I know that she's involved in education, quality education. I know where to fit in, and I know how to share opportunities with her that help us grow as a community. So that was really special for me. And that video is going to be shared in SAICA's platforms and the Accountancy SA magazine as well. So maybe I can go to Asisipho. What were your key takeaways from the summit, and what helped you the most from attending the Global Youth Summit?
Okay. For me, it was the design thinking, and it's one of the courses that we were taught about during the summit, and also the concept of using the iceberg model when you are solving challenges. I think in general, what the iceberg model shows us is that on the visible surface is us seeing the challenges, but on the invisible side of it is now how you approach in terms of solving those challenges. Because we usually just go about doing what we think is right towards solving those challenges. Whereas if you would follow the iceberg model, is you asking questions about to say, what are the institutions or the structures that are involved in this challenge that I'm facing? And what are the beliefs on the community? What do they believe? And also asking yourself, what kind of assistance do they want? Because I think the SDG that I'm championing can be a bit sensitive. When you are helping people that are less fortunate, you need to be able to give them what they require, and you need to be sensitive about it, because you don't want to just show up and give them what you think they need, whereas you need to try and structure it in a way that you give them what they need. So that model actually made me to be aware and be intentional about how I serve people, and also how I go about planning those initiatives and those projects, to be able to say, I've got this model that I can follow up so that I can be able to produce quality project. And I think that was my biggest highlight. And it actually goes even beyond the project that I am passionate about, because I'm still also a student. So it is a model that I can even use it during my studies to say, okay, if I have this solution, this challenge I need to solve in my question of academics, right? This is how I'm going to think around it to be able to resolve, to come up with a solution. So it was a game changer for me. And I think it's one thing I will apply even going forward in any space or in any sphere that I'm on, to say, okay, this is how I'm approaching anything and everything that I want to do.
That's beautiful, Asisipho. Thank you for sharing that. Let's go to the Prince of SAICA. What lessons are you taking forward from the Global Changers Youth Summit?
Do you remember that keynote from Peter Geldenhuys?
Yes.
And how he spoke about Africa in the next 30, 50 years and the impact Africa will have in the world's economy, right? For me, that keynote really sparked something in me to not think on a South African scale only. Just think on an African and even global scale.
Yes.
Right? That together with the lectures we're getting from Eric on critical thinking and how to develop systems, right? The iceberg model that you spoke about. I mean, now I'm starting to implement systems within our project on how we can actually scale past South Africa. I think that's the greatest takeaway for me. Also, they gave us a platform to apply for grant funding, right? So it just doesn't stop with the workshops and attending the summit, but also support from, yes, grant funding. What can you do with the grant funding to scale? Okay, so for me, I'm thinking scale. How can I impact not only South Africa, but Africa and the global stage? So that's the greatest takeaway for me.
Wonderful, Prince. I think what's so beautiful about Global Changemakers is that they not just focus on the global change makers that were chosen to go to the youth summit, but they have a change maker school, online school, where they have ecology, project management, sexual health, protection against GBV and so on. And these are available worldwide, and people that go through the Changemaker schools can also become eligible for grant funding and champion their projects. I mean, Global Changemakers has had more than 500 youth-led projects they've given grant funding to, which has benefited more than 16 million people.
Yeah.
So, Asisipho, maybe we can touch on what does it mean to be an ambassador. I know you're already a SAICA brand ambassador, but what does it mean now to be a Global Changemakers ambassador, and how do we pay it forward for the next Global Changemakers, our next trainee trailblazers, top 35, or maybe even, because the age gap is 21 to 29. So our next young leaders that want to become Global Changemakers.
I think on highest level, it means, influence, if I can put it that way. I think because I know that my story now is global, it means even what I do, I must be intentional about it. And it must be something that like Wamashudu said, we're not only now looking at our immediate community or even South Africa in itself, but we are looking at solving challenges that will be impactful even on a global stage. Yeah. And it means we are doing the right thing. And I think when we spoke about the application process earlier on, there was a part of an interview whereby you said, with the facilitator from the Global Changemakers. And I remember one question they asked me was that, so why must we select you? And at that point, I was like, I want to be a living proof of that. You don't need a lot of resources to start building change. Yeah. The little that you have, because I think the concept we have is that for you to be able to drive change, you must have, like millions, you must own big companies. Exactly. But it means even being a support of someone that is driving change, that's huge. That means you are doing the impact. And I think time is mostly what you can give away to someone else and assist them to be even greater than what they are. So I think that's what it means for me. It means even going forward, I'm more intentional about what I do, and I'm making sure that it is assisting the next person.
I resonate with that so much because when I went through my top 35 journey, people thought that you had to be a CEO executive to be there. So when I got there as a normal employee with a normal manager, so many people came to me and was like, why are you a top 35 under 35? Like almost disrespectfully, but I didn't take it in a negative way because I wanted to show people that even an ordinary employee, even someone that hasn't volunteered before, you don't have to own the biggest NPO and so on. You can still change the world. You can still make an impact in your community and your area of interest and passion as well. So I really applaud you for saying that. Yeah. And Wamashudu, from your point of view, we see you everywhere, man. You see on the SAICA Youth Hub, we see you on BDO everywhere. But what does being an ambassador mean to you, and how can you enhance being an ambassador for SAICA as well as difference makers on a global stage?
Yeah. I mean, you guys said it very well, right? It's about being the vehicle for impact. I think for someone who wants to be in our shoes, who wants to be a global change maker, some alumni who wants to be a trainee trailblazer, it's all about impact and being a vehicle for change. If you can just drive that story, just focus on that. As you said it well, you don't need millions. You really don't need millions. All you need is invest your time and just try to create an impact. Whether it's 100 people, whether it's 200 people, just investing your time to create an impact and to change the world is required to become a difference maker.
And the fact that we even went, it was a lot of youth leaders around the world that believed that enough in their cause, that they paid an application fee to say, I believe in my story, I'm going to share my story. And out of thousands of youth leaders, a good thing that came out of paying that thing, you get a free scholarship to the project management for Changemakers, which allows you to get grant funding. So even though they're not attending the youth summit, they can go out and get grant funding to champion their projects. But for us that attended the youth summit, we now have a network of international youth leaders that are already sharing opportunities. I mean, our WhatsApp group has had more than 200 messages at a time of just people interacting. So I really want to thank you guys for this conversation. I think I am coming out of this feeling like a global leader, and I want to become a global leader by 2035. And with such powerful people as yourselves beside me, I really think we're well on our way. Any final words, Asisipho, that you want to share with the audience?
Okay, I think what I can say is that you are definitely and most probable are doing change in your community, but maybe it's because you don't know. You're doing what you're doing because you either love it or it's your job, but you are driving the change. So I think sitting down and reflecting, which is what the Global Changemaker also allowed me a chance to, sitting down and reflecting and actually noticing that, okay, what I'm doing is actually great and it's contributing towards solving some challenges. So now it's about you now being more intentional, as I've mentioned earlier, and also doing it on a broader scale to say, okay, now that I know that what I do is it has a bigger impact. So now how do I go about it and making sure that it even reaches more audience than what I have now? So we as young people have taken the stage and we are ensuring that we are driving change. And I think it is one of the greatest things to see happening, being in the midst of young leaders from across the world, seeing them driving change in their respective communities actually assured me that we are doing the right thing and we are building the future that we want to be in. And we are also leading and paving the way from those that are coming behind us.
Ah, beautiful. Thank you, Asisipho. Wamashudu, do you want to close us off, Prince?
Yeah, I'll keep it nice and short.
Yeah.
Like a famous poet said, I'm not saying I'll change the world, but I will be the spark that changes the world.
Oh my word. Wow.
It's powerful.
Very powerful. No, guys, thank you for this conversation. And thank you, difference makers, for joining us. We are difference makers that want to make a difference on a global stage. And this concludes episode 2 of SAICA's Blue Table Talk. Thank you.